Hey y'all, I challenged myself this week not to go to the grocery store, but I'm still bringing you some delicious dinners from my pantry, my freezer, and my refrigerator. They were all delicious and easy to make. And I'm going to start off with a hamburger, and not just an ordinary hamburger, but this is one with fried green tomatoes on it. And if you've never tried it, you have got to. It's so delicious. And I'm just dipping my green tomato in some seasoned flour in an egg wash, and then I'm dipping it in some panko breadcrumbs. And these came from my garden, so I didn't have to buy anything, and I had everything else in my pantry. So I'm just going to fry them in some avocado oil until they're nice and golden brown and crispy. And they look beautiful. So I am cutting up an onion. I'm going to have a fried onion with my hamburger because I love fried onions on a burger. And I'm going to have them fried and not fried on my burger. And I'm also going to have some regular tomatoes with the fried green tomatoes. So this is going to be a nice big burger. And I topped a couple of them with some white cheddar cheese. I've also got some sliced tomatoes and onions from the garden and some lettuce that I had from my refrigerator. And this was so good, y'all. You would not believe how delicious a fried green tomato is on that burger. And I just piled it full and put some mayonnaise on it. And as you can see, I devoured that hamburger. It was so good. You've got to try it. And next, I've got some pork loin that I had cut up into smaller pieces. And all I did was just sprinkle some barbecue seasoning on there. That's what the seasoning says. It just says barbecue seasoning. So it's really good with barbecue sauce. So I just put that on the pork, and I'm going to brown that in my cast iron skillet. And I just made up some barbecue sauce. I'll have the recipe down below. It's just ketchup, Worcestershire sauce, brown sugar, a little vinegar, and some onion powder and garlic powder. And it was delicious. Way better than anything you can buy in a jar. So I'm just going to brown the pork in my cast iron skillet, and then I'll pour the barbecue sauce over the top and cook it in the oven. And I took the pork out because I didn't want to cook it a whole lot, but I took it out and let the barbecue sauce thicken up a little bit and put the pork back in there, and y'all, it was delicious. I could have probably drank that sauce just by itself, but is it not beautiful? It's beautiful and delicious. And I just made some macaroni and cheese with it. I always have the macaroni on hand, and also that Velveeta that I always have that I stock up with from Aldi. And I just made a packet of instant mashed potatoes, just something quick and easy, and we love that Idahoan kind. And I also made the squash. I just cut it up with some onions and fried it, and then put about a tablespoon of flour in there and let it get nice and golden brown. And this is the best way, I think, to cook squash. This dinner turned out so good. I hope y'all try that squash, and especially that barbecue sauce with the pork. It was delicious. Tonight, y'all, we're going to have some hamburger steak. I'm sauteing some onions and some mushrooms in some avocado oil. And a couple months ago, I had canned some ground beef patties, so that's what I'm going to use for the hamburger steak. And I got a lot of potatoes, so I'm going to make more mashed potatoes. But this time, I'm going to make them in the Instant Pot because it's going to take so much less time. So I'm going to take some onion powder and put in here before I add the flour. But I'm going to add some flour in this to thicken it up. And that way when I pour the gravy in, it'll be nice and thick. So I'm just using like a heaping tablespoon of flour. And I'm going to let that cook out so you don't have that raw flour taste. And then I'm just going to add the broth in there and get that nice and thickened up. And then we'll put our patties in there. I really like making my mashed potatoes in the Instant Pot. That way you can put the saute feature on and do it in the pot, and you don't have to dirty another dish. And I just added butter, salt, and pepper, and also a little bit of cream cheese to make it nice and rich. So now that the gravy is thickened up, I'm going to put my hamburger patties back in there and let them get heated through. They don't need to cook long. They just need to be heated through. They are already cooked, fully cooked. I mean, how good does that look? Do you not love an onion and mushroom gravy? We're also having some corn that I got from a local farm, and it is so good and nice and sweet. And there's my mashed potatoes, and we are ready to eat. This was another amazing dinner, and if we eat like this without going to the grocery store, I don't think I ever want to go to the grocery store again. Last dinner is salmon and rice, and this is a childhood favorite of mine. My grandmother used to make this for us all the time, and I make it exactly the way she does. So she just put the liquid in a bowl and put about 15 saltine crackers in there and just mix that together really good and get all the crackers absorbed in that liquid. And then put your salmon in there. And some people take out the bones and the skin, but I don't. I'm just too lazy. Plus, it doesn't bother me, and I just mash it up really well. I make sure that all the bones in there are crushed up and all the skin is mashed in together. So it doesn't bother me any. And I add one egg to it, and that's it. That's all she ever did to it. So that's all I ever do to it. I don't add salt, pepper, or anything. And I think it's perfect just like it is. And she always formed hers in a spoon, so that's what I'm doing too. I've also just took them out and patted them up like a hamburger, especially if you have big biscuits. I think it depends on what kind of biscuits you're having with it, but I'm just doing it the way she made it. And these are small biscuits, so that's why mine are kind of small, because I like to eat mine on biscuits just as much as I do with the rice. So I'm just doing the regular rice. I usually do minute rice, but I didn't have any, so instead of going to the store, I'm just going to use what I have. So I got the 20-minute rice, just 1 part rice, 2 parts water, and I just cook it for 20 minutes with some salt. Just flip them over when they're golden brown. And after these cook, I'm going to make a gravy with it. I'm going to make a little bit of gravy. I left some of that oil in the pan, and I'm adding some a tablespoon of flour, and I'm just going to mix that together until the flour taste gets cooked out. If you've never had gravy like this, you've got to make it with the salmon. It's so good. And I just added in some milk, and I'm just going to cook that until it gets nice and thick. Isn't that some beautiful looking gravy? And then I'm just going to add some salt and pepper to taste. You're probably going to need a good bit of salt, and you want a lot of pepper in there. It's really good with a lot of pepper. We always had peas, so I just opened up a can of peas and put some salt and pepper and some butter in there, and there's our biscuit. So we are ready to eat. Got my gravy's done, so now I'm going to work on my rice. I always love creamy rice. My grandmother made this for us all the time, but she used canned milk, and I'm just going to use that milk since it was in my refrigerator, and I'll just add some butter to that, and it's so delicious. I hope y'all enjoyed what we had for dinner this week. I cannot believe I didn't have to go to the grocery store at all. These were some delicious meals, and they were so easy to make. So I hope y'all enjoyed spending some time in my kitchen. I love having y'all, and I will see y'all in the next video.